That's an omnichord. It's like the coolest instrument ever. That's our theme song on the omnichord.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You could play the theme song on every instrument you have.
I could try.
It would be the entire show.
It would be the entire show. Welcome.
You could have dancers come in and...
The Everybody and Their Mother Has a Podcast dancers.
I don't know who they'd be.
Doesn't it seem like everybody and their mother has a podcast? Oh, oh, so I started a podcast with my mom. We wanted a theme song so you could sing along. The show, it starts now.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
Whew, it is hot in here, ain't it?
Pardon me, it's a tad warm. I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't know if I could mop my brow. I was going to come up with something dramatic to go with that and
Yeah.
give an excuse for it.
This is a little schwitzy. We're in our studio. You know, we're still laying low in the desert. Escaping LA for the moment, talking about maybe what it's like getting back there. But we're in our podcast area, which is awesome. But as the summer months approach, we're reminded that we are very, very much in the desert, and it's hot in here.
It's a little warm. We're okay. Just focus. Pretend it's hot yoga.
Bikram. Pretend it's hot yoga without the assault. Okay. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi. So beside the heat, which you know is to be expected, it was 70 yesterday. Probably the same thing in Philadelphia and LA. So we forgot about the heat for a moment.
This is helping. This is red wine and Diet Coke over ice.
Oh, that's terrific.
Which is like I'm not a soda guy, but this is just hitting the spot. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
It's true. It's true. So we celebrated a family milestone. Your other son, my brother David.
My other son, yes, my firstmaborn.
Turned 44 years of age a week or so ago. Mazel tov.
44.
It'll be nice to see David. It's been too long.
December 6th, 2019.
Ooh, it's longer for me. It's probably June of 19, which is approaching 2 years.
Yes.
It's messed up.
He looks good. I FaceTime with him and...
He does look good. He lost some weight since the last time I saw him. I saw him on FaceTime. David, my brother, lives in Philadelphia. He lives in a community living arrangement with a couple other fellows who also have additional needs. And he's surrounded by a phenomenal staff of people who are just really do just amazing work. So he's safe and sound. Then we get to FaceTime, but it's like these check-ins. And a couple 2 FaceTimes ago, he was like a big boy. I was like, whoa, he's like a large man. And he never appeared that way. But then I saw him yesterday, and he looked svelte. So I don't know if it was just I haven't talked to him in a while.
I didn't think about it. I'll have to think about that.
Or if it was a bad angle, or but it was good. I was happy to see him looking healthy and leaner.
So it's amazing, you just. Well, I can't say time stands still. I don't know what time's doing now, but all of a sudden your kids are. Oh, so the other day I went someplace and I said to the person behind the counter, and by the way, my kids will be here soon also. So when they show up, you'll know they're my kids. I said, the kids are like, they're adults, but they're the kids.
Yeah, that's really cute. That's really cute.
So we like to reminisce on birthdays, and there are many stories, and I don't know why this popped into my mind, but it did. There was a time that some kid in the neighborhood beat you up when you were a little kid, and and I know it sounds like he beat you up.
Wait, no, he did beat me. He did beat
but
me up. But why are you bringing this up?
Oh, you don't want to hear
And that was the third time I got my ass kicked.
because I was thinking of a way to talk about David in a way that would be maybe surprising and informative, and because you were a nonviolent person from a very young age, and so it was really a tough experience for the whole family. And then one day, you and David were just in the neighborhood. You were walking around, David in his wheelchair, and he saw the kid.
Yeah.
And he said, "Jeffrey, is that the kid that beat you up, Rick?" And you said, "Yeah, it is." And he wheeled right over to this kid, and there were like 5 or 6 friends around him, and my son David pulled back and went like that and hit Jeffrey right in the nose, and his nose started bleeding.
David's in a wheelchair.
David's
Jeff
in a
is
wheelchair,
standing.
and he had to roll over to him. And Rick said, "Ha ha, great, you got beat up by a kid in a wheelchair." So,
I didn't say that.
You
I would
didn't?
No, another a bystander who also was there.
Did they really?
Yeah, can you imagine me saying those words?
It's a long time ago.
No, it was.
No, of course you would never say
This
that.
is crazy. All right. So let's back up a minute. So on last week's show, I spoke about that time when I wore white pants and a black shirt to the recital. So the year after that, I went back.
I'm wearing a black
Oh, yeah, you're doing
t-shirt
it.
and white
Look at
shorts.
that.
Okay.
That's great. So I was at that school for 1 year, and it was a Quaker school, and so my nonviolent tendencies were perfect. Nonviolent belief system comported perfectly with this sort of Quaker friends environment. But I didn't stay there for more than a year, and went back to middle school. Went to middle school, back to public school in 7th grade, and it was just an absolute nightmare. And I had a bully, like a classic true, like this dude like tormented me. And it was like, "I'm going to beat you up today. I'm going to beat you up today." This happened all the time. And I'd be like, "I'm not going to fight you. I'm a pacifist. This is not going to be what you think it is." Like, no, which is not something that he expected. So after a number of days or weeks of this, he fulfilled his obligation as far as he was concerned. And he did. He kicked my ass. He had some people hold me down. And it wasn't good. It was bad. And when my dad we went over to his house, and my dad banged on their door and confronted them. His mom, this bully's mother, answered the door and just started cursing at my dad, just like sailor mouth, just trash woman, trash person. And so that's, it wasn't shocking. That's how this kid was raised. So at some point over the next days, yes, this happened. And there was a confrontation of some sort. David is involved. David punches Jeff. No one expected it.
It was a good, solid, straight-on punch.
Oh, he hit him with a closed fist up, because David's in the wheelchair.
How did he learn that?
I don't know. Up, and he got him, and blood just poured out. And people were like, "Damn!" And then when Jeff was like cowering over, tending to his wounds. I'm not laughing at violence. I'm laughing at the image of David. One of the other kids was like, "Yo, you just got your ass kicked by a kid in a wheelchair." That's where that line came from.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
All right, so I'm like, I'm going to make it my mission to like destroy this person's life. So as I got older, I like started focusing on like not good thoughts. I, ultimately was able to place those thoughts where they belonged.
Yeah.
But a lot of attention was like, when I see this guy again, all the non-violent and sort of passive tendencies, now that I'm a person in the world, recognize that like, yes, you start with no, yes, you start with nonviolence, yes, you start with authorities, whatever you got to do. But at a certain point, the only solution is to get this guy's nose bloody. I'm sorry, it just is, as far as I'm concerned. So I was like holding this anger. You can hear it now, right? I'm like, "Urgh."
You were so proud of your brother. And you, if I got it correctly, if I remember correctly, you said he can't say stepped up. There's so many metaphors.
Right, he didn't stand up for me. That's not kind.
You said he did what you'd expect a big brother to do,
Yes.
and he took care of it for me.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
it was great for everybody, which is we were basically we weren't violent people,
No.
but I have to say that I didn't tell him to do it, but I have to say that the reaction and what it did was was good in a lot of ways. I don't think the word is good, but it happened. I had no control over.
It happened.
And it made you feel well protected by your brother, which
Yeah.
is what everybody wants.
Yeah, it's true. It was a
and
moment.
and it was so unexpected.
Yeah, it was really unexpected. And I was probably 13 or 14 years old, so this is a while ago. And then as I got older, I'm like, if I ever see this guy, yes, my brother stood up for me, but if I see this guy, I'm not going to say anything to him. I'm just going to take him to the ground. It's going to be...
Oh, yeah, I remember you're feeling that
Yeah.
way.
And when I was like 27 or 28, so 15 years after this incident, I'm sitting in a market survey, like a market research group in Philadelphia. They pay us $200 to drink some beer and talk about it for a while.
Isn't that what everybody's looking for
It
now?
was a good gig.
Here's $200, drink some beer.
Cash. They gave us an envelope with two $100 bills in it. So
Did you go to the casino?
no, but maybe, I don't know. So, and I'm sitting in this across, there's this one-way mirror or two-way mirror. I'm never sure which it's called. I think they call it a one-way mirror, but that's wrong. Two-way mirror. A market survey situation. And drinking beer, like this one tastes like this, and this one makes me feel like summer. And we only have first names and name tags. And I look across the table. There's like 10 people at this boardroom table, and I'm like, oh my God.
How many years later was this?
15 years, 13 years.
See?
And I'm like, oh my God, that's Jeff right there sitting across this table from me. And he has no idea it's me because I could tell he has no idea it's me. And I'm like, all right, this is it. When this thing's over and I collect my two crisp $100 bills and get out of this building and away from these cameras, I'm going to fuck this guy up. And then we walk downstairs with our money. Oh, and in the elevator, I'm like, did everyone else get $400?
Did you really?
No, I didn't really get. I just was messing with them. It was great. And thanks. We leave. We open the door. We go to leave the elevator door. Go to leave the main vestibule door, and like everything, David punching him flashed into my mind, and where I was in my life and where I wanted to go, and the whole thing. I was just like very like instantly, extremely present. And he went to open the main front door, and I put my foot in front of it so he couldn't open it. And he turned to this person he was just in this group with this face of like, what are you doing? And I went like this. I went, I forgive you.
Wow.
He had no idea what I was talking about, and it didn't matter. I moved my foot, and I held the door for him, and he left, and I've never seen him since.
Good thing for him.
His name is Josh Hawley, and now he's in commerce. No. Yeah, so happy birthday, David. Thank you for kicking his ass.
Happy birthday, David.
So we're in our podcast studio. There's some other spaces here that we've all taken advantage of in our own ways, which is we're very blessed to have space to do separate activities. You chose a space as your art studio, which is awesome, and we showed a piece of your work last week. But you've amassed quite a collection of new original painting
Not enough.
in this house.
I have a
Well,
lot of blank canvases in that closet, but yes.
Get in line.
Thank you.
And there was this one piece that we're going to show that it's great. It caught everyone's eye. And by everyone, I should say it's myself, my girlfriend, you, and my stepfather, and the cat. So there's only 4 people who live here. So, why don't you show this piece?
They might see it on Instagram.
Let's just take a look at this piece.
All right.
And pretend for a second that you're living in this house and you know that there's my mom, Sharon, who created the art, and you're either me or my girlfriend or my stepfather or a cat who doesn't really have a say in this. So let's take a look at this piece and just gauge reactions.
Am I too close to the
Tell us about this piece.
Okay, so I know that you could put this up as a add-on at later
Yeah, I will.
in the
I can.
production, but I wanted to show it because there's a lot of dimensionality and colors, and I really, really enjoy doing this. This is one of my favorite parts down here. But the thing of it is, it's called every time you open
your mouth.
And when I posted it on Instagram, one person wrote back ... a song comes out. And I thought, oh, okay, that is so sweet. What a nice attitude.
Super sweet. That person wasn't one of the other three adults who live here. So it wasn't like this. First of all, great work, and I'm happy you're making art, and I do like this piece.
And artists express themselves through their work.
Yeah, they definitely express
They
themselves.
don't, instead of punching people, they,
Right, but this proverbial, royal people you speak of, there's only 3 other people in this
But
house.
look at the dots and the shapes and the colors.
Technique aside.
And I put some words in here, which I've, been thinking about doing. And it has a good flow, and the energy is strong, even if it's not the most positive energy, but it's a powerful energy.
Oh, I'll say.
And it's a healthy energy, because after I painted it, I felt a lot of relief and joy.
Well, I should also say, after you painted it and felt that relief and joy, it then sat in a common area where all of us pass it every day. I mean,
There's only a few places to display the art.
you hear what's happening, right? You guys hear what's happening? It's just we had to display it somewhere, and I'm really proud of the dots.
And it bothered you.
No, it didn't bother me. It it bothered
Yes,
me.
it
Yeah.
did. It
Well,
bothered you.
I maintain that this is an act of violence. This is a shot across the
It's
bow.
not an. You know what? You have the right to interpret art any way you want. That's part of the amazing thing about art.
Yeah, but usually.
And I don't really like describing it, other than give it a title, because that helps people relate to it. What are you laughing at?
Because all artists' origin stories, most stories about art, I appreciate, stay vague. You don't spell it out for people.
Oh, a lot of people do. A lot of people in their titles tell exactly.
I think you
Like
know exactly.
Christine. When you see Christine, you know exactly what's going on.
I think you know my point, and I appreciate knowing that you for sure know my point and are still playing it this way.
I know your point. But again, it's wonderful to be able to use art to express oneself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and then
No shade on making art or making
Thank
art that's
you.
aggressive or even making art that is violent to one of 3 people you happen to be living
it's not
with.
violent. It might be aggressive. It's not violent.
And I
There's
can
no
take it.
blood.
but
There's no knives. There's no,
No, not
collage
violent.
of people
Not-
being beat up.
not violent in its depiction, violent in its statement, which is like one of the 3 of you need to keep your mouth shut more often.
Oh, no. Actually, that's not what happened. Oh, see, this is what I love about it. That's not, I see you're being skeptical. That's not what this painting is about.
Oh.
Yes, I'm not going to say further, but I'm kind of laughing at myself, and I see by your reaction you think I'm covering up, but I'm not.
No, I
That's
don't.
exactly the opposite of what this painting is about.
Oh.
Whoops. All right, so I bumped the camera a little, but so it's not what the painting was not. It was not directed in that direction.
All right.
It's the opposite direction.
Every time you open your mouth, something wonderful happens.
Not exactly, but yeah.
All right. Feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what y'all think.
It's on the website. If they want to buy it, they could. But
We'll link to your
that's
website.
another thing.
We'll link to your artist
Some
website.
of my stuff I don't want to sell. I really
Okay.
enjoy it. And I'm at the point now where I follow people on Instagram for their art. That's mainly that, and looking at my relatives, my younger relatives. And I see art. There's 4 artists that I follow, and I really need to buy a piece of art from each of them. I love their work. But where do you put all this stuff? I mean, we don't have room for our stuff, but I have to. There's a couple of things that I'm going to have to buy.
Yeah, and you keep, hold on to what you don't want to sell. And
And we rotate.
yeah.
All right. So this is great. Thank you. I do appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah.
So now can we talk about a piece of your art?
Sure.
So, one of your, maybe it's one of the Aminal songs. Oh no, I know which one it is. You wrote a song about leaving something because we're always packed. There's a go bag in the car, in the closet, for when we have to grab it and go. We got that. But when we decided to come here to go away from the crowds in the neighborhood and have a little more space, we packed some things, but you can only pack so many things.
Like,
and we didn't know how long we would be here, so we didn't overdo. So you have a song about this that I particularly like.
It is an Aminal song,
Good.
but it's not about an animal. Yeah, like most Jewish origin stories, we left in haste and didn't have time to get everything that we wanted to in order. Less dire than Exodus, but nonetheless, I wrote this tune. We've spoken about cooking and baking and some of these, newfound flexed skills during the pandemic, and I realized that leaving Santa Monica and coming out to the desert to sort of lay low during the pandemic, that I had absentmindedly forgotten my cinnamon in Santa Monica, and as a way to express this terrible loss, I put it into song, and then I made a video out of it, and it's called "I Left My Cinnamon." Parentheses in Santa Monica, and I played all the instruments and sang it and made this video, and I could show it.
Why are you laughing?
Because it's so ridiculous.
It's really great. The montage is they'll see.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I left my cinnamon in Santa Monica. Here's a story I think everyone can relate to. I left my cinnamon. Thank you. In Santa Monica. When I left for quarantine, I remembered my melodica. I took my vitamins, a synth, some beats, a theremin to make electronica in a desert. Did you forget the cinnamon? Did I forget? Oh my, it's right here. Never mind.
So thank you for showing that. That's great.
You're
I
welcome.
think you're going to get a great reaction to it. It's
Thank you.
really fun. I enjoyed it, and I don't want to take the attention away from you, but if you're finished, when you talk about leaving your cinnamon, to me it relates to something you told me in
1845.
9/11 was 2001. Something you told me in 2001. I was quite the smoker, and I decided to try to stop smoking. I tried, and you said to me, when you stop smoking, don't replace it with cinnamon. What does this mean? And you said, well, some people will drink a glass of water when they want a cigarette, or they'll eat a piece of candy, or I didn't really drink much wine.
There were cinnamon flavored toothpicks, and I was saying that I had or tea tree flavored, and it was like a cool replacement.
you.
But I was told not to swap the ritual.
Don't swap one habit for the other. You need to stop the
ceremony.
habit, otherwise it will always continue. And that's when I heard you forgot the cinnamon, and here we're, in a pandemic, and everything's going sideways. It just made me think of that. And actually, when I stopped smoking, that helped me, because it was after 9/11, and you had asked me why did I stop smoking, because I had smoked my whole life, and I said
She quit cold turkey after like decades.
I was really
Just
scared
done.
of 9/11. I was so traumatized, and I thought, what am I going to do to calm down about this and get rid of some of this fear, or channel it, or what should I do? And I thought, I talked to myself, and I listened to myself. That's why I talk to myself. And I thought, I'm traumatized by 9/11. I'm smoking cigarettes all the time. I'm traumatizing my body. I have 100% total control over this. This I have control over. So I picked a target date. I put it on the calendar. And one morning, the last day of the year of 2001, at 4 o'clock in the morning, in the casino in Atlantic City, I smoked
Baller.
3 packs of cigarettes.
Nice, Johnny.
And I
Smoke up.
finished it, and I never had another cigarette again.
Crazy.
And you said to me, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months later, you said, so it's great you stopped smoking. How many have you had since then? And I said, I stopped smoking. And you said, yeah, but when people stop smoking, it's not even backsliding. It's like once in a while they'll have one. I said, December 30th, 4 a.m., Atlantic City. That was it.
It's very impressive. And the other way that that story has been expressed or processed is you were in control of your choices in a way that we weren't for terrorism. And you're
course.
you deciding to make your choices as intentional as they were, was like not letting the terrorists control you in that way, which I thought was like fascinating. You took control of something, and the psychology of that is fascinating, but the physiology of just being like, after, I don't know, years of smoking a lot, like, I
don't want to give it a can of her. I
used
haven't
to-
had any problems.
I
I don't
used-
want to like talk about it.
You used to send me to the gas station with, it was either $5 or $10, and I would get 2 packs of cigarettes at $2 each. And maybe it was like 2 hot dogs and a soda for $1. I think for $5 I came back with 2 packs of cigarettes,
Probably.
2 hot dogs, and a soda. It sounds like a story from 1910. It's
And you
crazy.
have reminded me, rightfully so, not lately, but at some point, that that I sent a child into the store to buy cigarettes. And you're right. You're right. I do have to add that when I used to go to the store, you'd get in the car, I'd help David transfer into the car.
Help David transfer into the car was lifting David up, lifting up his wheelchair.
I could
putting it
lift
in the
him till
trunk.
he
It
was 100 pounds because I did it every day from the time he was born. 100 pounds, I could deadlift him. And then I had to fold up the wheelchair.
Deadlift indicates that he was staying still. It's harder than It was harder than a deadlift. The weights don't curse at you and try to swat at you.
If I took him out of the tub or something, I had to pick him up. Anyway, and I'd fold a chair. And it was an E&J and Everston Jennings chair, which was made out of metal. It was before the sports chairs came out, which of course we bought for him the minute they came out.
Whatever you're picturing, picture more metal, more rust, more Soviet era technology.
Well, when people rent a wheelchair, I think maybe they still get this. And the footrests, I want to say they were 24 pounds each,
Yeah.
but
No, they were.
it's been a really long time.
No, I remember when I was introduced as a young person to 25-pound weights. I was like, oh, these are like a footrest each.
Which he broke every
few months.
yeah.
Well, he would like
easily.
sit up like this way, like on the footrest. So
Yeah.
they would bend down this way, and it wasn't like you could go to the welding shop in the corner to get these things fixed.
But it was
a
good
hassle.
because it was his way of helping with his clothing. So he was pushing
It
up
was
so
him
he
getting
could
things
move
on and
clothing
off.
up and down.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I got lazy. I don't want to take the wheelchair
That's
out to
not
get a pack
lazy.
of cigarettes. It was like, just go in and get the cigarettes. Of course, it wasn't right. There's no
No,
defense for
It
it all.
was also a different time. I mean, we're not talking about that many years past when like smoking on airplanes was a thing, which I wasn't necessarily alive for.
Dressing rooms and Lord and Taylor's.
Smoking in the dressing room, being like, nah, I don't want this this
It
thing I'm wearing
smells.
that
I
now
don't want it
smells like my
anymore.
cigarettes. I don't want it. Also, I don't think of it as like a sketchy parenting thing to have sent me to pick up things that you needed, because it was at that time a necessity. We can debate whether or not it was a necessity, but it was like, let's get her what she needs. And also, I was, 10, 12. I wasn't like 6 years old. So by the time I was like 14 or 15, I could go to that same gas station and be like, hey, John, 2 packs of cigarettes, and then I could get cigarettes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I got it. I remember being, I guess, 16 years old, and Sharon, I've mentioned her before, my friend Sharon and I were sitting on the front lawn at my house, my parents' house, and we were smoking. I mean, we weren't obviously afraid of being caught because we were outside smoking. And my mother came out, and her mother walked down the block. She lived 5 houses from me. She walked down the block, and they were chatting, and they looked over, and we're smoking one cigarette. We're sharing it. And it was like, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it. And they're watching this. And they said, whose cigarettes are those? And we looked at each other, and without a word, we each put a hand on the cigarette pack and walked hand in hand down to her house and finished smoking the cigarette.
I love that. It's the opposite of like snitching.
You go figure it out. Nobody gave
That's
up anything.
That's super Philadelphia too. I dig that. I like that a lot.
Huntington Valley.
Huntington Valley. Huntingdon Valley. Well, listen, I got to go back to work.
Oh, okay.
I
What
love
am I
you.
supposed to do?
I think you talked about the
Oh,
casino.
the casino.
Or
Oh, I can't. I have a 4:00 Zoom with the Drexel Autism Institute on a project that they're doing. That
nice.
you'll hear about that too.
Yeah, will you tell us next time?
I'll tell you, we will have a guest, and it might take a while before we get that together. But
Maybe a little sneak peek next week about what the topic is, because I think this sounds like it dovetails with your history as an educator,
It's
as
a
David's
great
mother, as your work in helping people. I mean, I'm not.
no, not at all. It's more. No, yeah, I'm only kidding. Of course,
It's a vanity project with the Drexel Autism Department.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to call your mother.
Doesn't it seem like everybody and their mother has a podcast? Oh, oh, so I started a podcast with my mom. We wanted a theme song so you could sing along. The show it ends now.
No one's mic is on.
Oh, so does that mean we have to redo the whole show?
I'm not redoing the show.